So in this video, I wanted to talk about what happens when you're in jail and you're waiting for your next step. For a lot of people, this may be going to trial. So you're in jail because you're being held in custody because they consider you a flight risk, or if you just couldn't pay your bail or your bond, which is usually sometimes as little as $100. If you can't pay that, then you're going to be taken into custody until someone can pay it for you. It sounds very ridiculous that just for that $100, $500 fee, that they can end up jailing you for weeks or months until you end up going to your trial. But for some folks like me, I wasn't expecting to be detained after I had gotten my arraignment. So I ended up was fighting to get out of jail, and it took a while because I had a public defender. In future videos, I'll try to talk a little bit more about the difference between a public defender and a private attorney, because I know for a lot of folks it's not something that people really will understand when it comes to you actually as a defendant in a trial. How does that make a difference for you? So I'll talk more about in the future. But so for anybody who is in jail awaiting trial, you're going to be in a pre-trial group. That means that you're going to be usually waiting for a date to be created for when you would show up for the judge, trial date for your case, and any other types of things that need to be done between the lawyers and the judge. So sometimes it may require you to go from the jail to the courthouse whenever you have a hearing in which you're required to be there. And I will tell you, for a lot of people, unless, say, the jail is literally next door to the courthouse, going to court for those hearings is it is a huge challenge for anybody who's in jail, because it can literally be an all-day affair. So pretty much when they generate who's going to go to court the next day, the guards should be preparing inmates on the fact that they have a hearing. They should then be told to wake up usually at like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. where they're going to get their breakfast first. They get to eat first quietly, and then they're going to be moved over to the holding cells that are towards the area where you'll be transported. And you barely woken up, you ate whatever was put in front of you, then you try to get into some clothes. If it's possible for you to get into some like a dress clothes where you look good, or otherwise you'll be showing up in your jail uniform. And if you're lucky that the courthouse is next door, the time you're in the holding cell probably won't be too long. But if you're being transported to a courthouse that may be 20, 30, 40, 50 miles away, and they also plan for traffic to be, part of the thing during the morning rush, you're going to spend from 6 a.m. until probably 8:30 a.m. In transportation, and that's not fun at all. That's one of the worst experiences of being transported as an inmate, is that it is an uncomfortable ride. It's either too hot or too cold. and you're shackled. You are definitely, hands are shackled. Most likely your legs will also be shackled. So you'll be sitting in that van shackled. You can't really adjust yourself or get comfortable. And by the time you get to your hearing, you could be like the third or fourth stop before you get to your hearing. So when you show up at the courthouse that you're assigned for your hearing that day, they move you into holding cells that are much bigger than the ones at the jails, and you're gonna end up having to sit there until your case is gonna get heard. Normally they should feed you meals during the time. So if it's getting close on lunch, they'll give you like a ham sandwich or something. If it was prepared by the jail, they took it with you when you were getting transported. Although sometimes some courthouses can also make the food if they didn't get any food brought with them. And sitting in a courthouse, in uniform, shackled, it's the worst experience possible. And the one tip I will give you is toilet paper. The ones that they have in the holding cells, you can use if the toilet paper itself is still relatively new and unused, you can actually use it as a pillow. You can either kind of have it sitting upwards, like the cylinder portion of it, and then you just rest the back of your head on it. It's a makeshift pillow. It's not as great as probably a real pillow, but you probably don't want to put your head flat on the metal surface of the bench that you're sitting on waiting for your next hearing, because sometimes that could be an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours. I will tell you from my experience of having to go back to court to get my release appealed, that I ended up going at like 6 a.m. in the morning to the courthouse. My session was not going to be heard until 2 or 2:30, and then when it was heard, there was some confusion on whether or not I would be released at that point or sent back. And, based on some clarifications, I was going to be sent back. So I ended up leaving the courthouse at like 5 p.m. and we had to pick up a person who was actually getting medical service at one of the hospitals. So we made a detour to pick him up. The patient was ready, so that was 7 o'clock. By the time we're waiting for this person to be picked up, and then when we finally get back, it was already 8:30, 9 o'clock. And if you can imagine, from that process from 6 a.m. to now, I have had my arms and legs shackled for that entire time. Can you imagine the amount of pain that I was in from doing that? Now, if it's standard procedure, but for the whole incident of just like, being shackled, that to me is just so inhumane. But in terms of when we finally get back to the jail that I was in, right? And I, got back my stuff, got back, I had some paperwork that I brought into the jail, so they gave me a cute little folder to put it into. But I took all of my stuff from the check-in and and then I went back to my unit, and everybody in my unit, they were shocked that when they saw me at like almost 10 o'clock, that why are you here? We thought from looking at the news that you actually got released. And I thought when I left that morning that I was not coming back because I had my lawyer who was going to be there to argue for my release, and it was all going to go well, but the judge just wanted to be, a judge, and ended up wanting one more day to finalize things. So by the time I got back, people were, I guess, weirded out to see me, but they, who your friends are, I guess. Like, you're gonna end up just knowing these people, and the people who just have a soft spot for you, they're gonna tell you, oh my god, I can't believe you came back. And I said, okay, it was just for one more day. If they did change their mind after this, I am going to be screaming out in the halls. I'm probably put into solitary because, I shouldn't really even have to have come back today. And, so I had trusted my bunkmate. If you remember, I described my bunkmate as the really tough Harley guy. He much older gentleman, ripped bod, like totally tough guy who can beat up anybody. I entrusted him with my lock and my combination to my lock, and I said, if it looks like I'm not coming back, just give my shit away. I don't really care. And so because of that, he actually did give away my stuff. But what I was smart enough that if there was some bizarre situation where I had to come back, I had put like a pair of underwear, a shirt or whatever into the duffel that you would normally check it in. So I still had like one outfit left that I can wear. So the fact that everybody, all my stuff was given away, people were storming back to give back stuff to me, and including apparently these underwear that I actually never even wore because I had bought them so late, during my time there. But this rather cute guy who probably thought I had a good taste in underwear had swiped them and then said, did you want them back? And I was like, no, it's okay. So that was crazy, just having to go from like 5 a.m. waking up all the way until 10 p.m. and I was in a bad mood, and because I had left and people thought that I was gone, that I didn't even have a bunk. But my old bunkmate, of course, said you can sleep on the top bunk for me and above me, and hopefully it'll go well for you tomorrow morning. So we repeat the whole thing the next morning. I will say the guard who helped me to get ready each day, he's the guy who watches Fox News every single day. He was pretty nice to me to make sure that I made it to my court hearings and stuff like that. So, but otherwise, yeah, no, it's just the experience of going to courthouse for any type of hearings that you have from jail. It is massively much worse, and this is kind of why folks want to not be in custody. It is a lot easier for you to manage all those things if you were at home, and so you can be dressed appropriately from home, get yourself to the courthouse on time, you know what you need to do, and you can try to plan that all within like maybe a 2-hour window in the morning, versus when you're in jail, you're essentially you're going to spend the whole day for that 1 hour, possibly 1 hour meeting in front of a judge. So it's really not, it's so inefficient, and it's designed like that. And obviously then the guards who are the drivers who have to take you in, they have to plan their schedule. It's a total mess. So I guess one of the things is, if you can ever kind of get out of a situation from where you're in custody awaiting trial to trying to not be, these are why things important things like bond, bail and bond reform is so important, because why would you lock somebody up because they can't pay a $200 bonds fee, and then have to provide them housing and food for the next 3 months until their trial comes up? That really makes no sense. A lot of these folks are not the ones that were considered flight risks. They just plain can't pay the bond. So it's a really messed up part of the system, and hopefully at least my description gives you some idea of how all of that works. But it is very similar to a lot of the other YouTube channels that you get on here that talk about transportation hell. So if you like videos like this, hearing about my experience, please definitely subscribe. That'll help me with the channel. And also like this video if you thought that the information was helpful. I definitely want to share information for people who have not gotten into the situation before but want to be prepared, right? No one really wants to be sitting in a van transport for 10 hours a day, but if it happens, how do you deal with it? And then lastly, leave comments if you have questions. If I confuse you on anything, let me know. Try to clarify that in the comments or in a future video. So hopefully I'll hear from you guys soon. I will be posting a couple more videos on similar topics. So I will talk to you guys soon.